Brilliance Audio presents The Odds, a post-apocalyptic action comedy by Robert J. Peterson, performed by Eric G. Dove. Sing Goddess. Chess is war over the board. The object is to crush the opponent's mind. Robert James Bobby Fischer, World Chess Champion 1972-75. Never tell me the odds. Han Solo, Captain Millennium Falcon. Dedicated to my mom, Wanda Sue Bohan Peterson. Part 1. Xiang. The redhead came home to celebrate his death day. A bulky motorcycle hummed between the redhead's legs as he passed a green highway sign that hung from one corner and told him he was entering a place called Nevada. Minutes later, he rode into the town at a red dusk. The town was brown mostly, except for a few flashes of yellow coming from the grimy light bulbs and neon tubes that remained. No one greeted him because no one was outside. Thermometers in that part of the world had permanent mercury stains around 150 and 50 below. The sun rose hard and set fast, and nothing but desert hot and desert cold followed it into the brown town. Thermally lined tubes connected the redhead with his bike. They bristled like giant spider legs between the brown leather jacket he wore and the bike's fuel tank, which was about twice the size of a normal tank and resided just below his butt, right in between two heavy leather saddlebags. The engine sat between his knees and sprouted 4 chrome exhaust pipes that ran the length of the bike. Although the exhaust pipes were covered with dirt, they hadn't seen any exhaust in a long, long time. A small analog clock sat in the engine's housing and ticked away between his knees. The redhead stopped at the edge of town, removed a black bandana from his skull, and used it to wipe desert dirt off the aviator goggles that encased his head. Wind kicked through his locks of red hair. Another bandana, this one red, covered his mouth. His hands were green. As he moved, dirt flaked and rained from his clothes, hitting the ground in little bursts of brown. Once his goggles were clean, the redhead rested his hands on his thighs and surveyed the town. It looked the same. Corrugated steel held up crumbling roofs here and there, while adobe-style stucco struggled out of the sand elsewhere. The occasional burst of jagged graffiti brightened up a few of the buildings with the gleefully unholy litanies of the ones who followed the odds. The dusk turned from red to purple. The redhead's goggles instantly frosted over. He grabbed the 8 tubes plugged into his jacket, 4 in each hand, and yanked them out. Chilly white gas burst from the tips of the tubes. The redhead reached between his bike's handlebars and spun a valve shut. The gas shut off. The redhead stowed the tubes in holding hilts on the side of his fuel tank, then reached into his pockets and produced a pair of thick gloves. He took a few moments to dry wash away the green gunk that coated his hands. When only a few bits of green remained caked in the nooks and crannies of his hands, he pulled on the gloves. Steam clouded in front of his mouth. He used the bandana to wipe the frost from his goggles before he tied the strip of black fabric back over his hair. He disengaged his bike's brake and rode farther into town. He had 2 stops to make. The first was with an odd, and for the first time in his life, the redhead wasn't afraid of the odds. He wasn't afraid of anything anymore. His bike rolled up in front of the one building in town that still stood above the drifts of sand that had consumed most everything else. It looked like a temple. Thick marble columns held aloft an A-frame roof. Huddled underneath that roof were a half-dozen windows, all of them blocked out with shiny steel that reflected the sun's rays during the day, and stood ready to repel an attack if need be. Years ago, the marble was a mix of green and blue. Now it was the same color as everything else. Across the front of the roof, blinking light bulbs said, Casino. The redhead dismounted his bike and rolled around the side of the building where a series of metal rods arched from the wall of the casino into the ground. There was nothing between them. He opened one of his saddlebags, reached in, and used both hands to pull something out of it. A neutral observer might have thought he looked like a mime pulling on a length of imaginary...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?